You know, they say size doesn't matter. I'm sure this will get the job done just fine. In fact, you can probably argue that the PlayStation 2 Slim is better than the Fat, right? Hello everybody! Today we're going to be taking a look at the PlayStation 2 Slim, initially releasing in November of 2004 worldwide. It's been a while since I've looked at some hardware, and I was really in the mood to delve into the PlayStation 2 Slim. I very recently came across a complete in-box example for 30 bucks, so you know what? It felt like the right time.
My introduction to the PlayStation 2 Slim was technically several times over the years. You know, family had it, friends had it, but once I had it, sometime in 2013 or 2014, for my birthday, as it was a huge lot off of Kijiji, was when I actually became accustomed to it. So, with my background out of the way, let's check out the sleek PlayStation 2 Slim. So, the PlayStation 2 Slim. Here on the home menu, we've got the standard PS2 interface. Unlike the PlayStation 1, the only differences here are the software revisions. Externally, the Slim is really slim, like about the size of the DVD cases the games come in. An incredible job, I must add, at compacting the experience. With virtually no downgrades, it was such a good console revision that it would become the face of the PlayStation 2 for the next 9 years of its lifespan, remaining almost unchanged besides, a third revision in 2007 that weirdly semi-unslimmed the console to give it an internal power supply unit. I don't know, chalk it up to corporate greed, I guess. It's probably cheaper to produce these ones. But it still looked basically the same.
You see, viewers at home, it's what's on the inside that matters. And your insides are fucking disgusting!
The major differences in terms of features is the lack of a powered disc tray and expansion slot. However, that only means no hard drive support, as now the Ethernet port is built in. And on the earlier models, the modem was still there. Also, the infrared receiver remains on here, and every Slim has one. The remotes for them are mostly unchanged as well, except for the drawer open and close button and the power button, despite the power button actually working on the Fat controllers. Like, if you had the PlayStation 2 Fat remote, you could still use it with the Slim. I mean, the power button would turn it on. Why would they remove the power button? It's such a weird thing. Oh, and if you had a PlayStation 2 Fat multi-tap, you'd need a new one, as clearly the shape is different.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
The performance does differ from console to console, but they basically all run the exact same. The major change here, and the reasoning behind that, is for PlayStation 1 games, as only the eldest Slim revision has the PS1 guts still in it. Obviously, this is more targeted towards the PlayStation 1 games, however, some PlayStation 2 games actually use some of the PlayStation 1's chips. Other revisions have a bit more trouble emulating it, and see, that's going to be a bit of a common thing here. The Slim progressively gets cheaper and lighter, and loses more features, mostly, the newer the release. Oh, but you see, this is also where the controversy of the Slim line of PlayStation 2s comes in. A lot of people swear by the Fats because they're rock solid and are designed well. The Slim is too, save for one fatal flaw. Some models, after a few years, start to scratch discs due to the ribbon cable for the laser losing grip from the adhesive on the bottom. The causation behind this is that the cable occasionally gets lifted and touches the discs as it spins at high speeds, resulting in rings around the edge and, sometimes in the middle, regardless, somewhere on the disc. Good news is there are several fixes to this, and I'm gonna list two of the major ones. The most permanent, quote-unquote, being getting a new sticky ribbon cable. However, I find just taping it back down and properly securing it as close to the way the factory did it is a lot more simple and makes it more accessible for any casuals who, might be scared of their childhood PlayStation 2s or of getting a Slim because of this. Even if your PlayStation isn't causing you problems, it is only a matter of time. Just keep in mind, do everything at your own risk. The main thing is though, obviously this should have never been an issue in the first place. I mean, if you're not careful, this can literally ruin some discs, and depending on your collection, it could be pretty expensive. But, to be fair on Sony's end, this was not an issue until a few years down the line. Also, speaking of the disk drive, the lasers aren't always the greatest. The mechanisms are easy enough to replace and fine nowadays, but both PlayStation 2 models tend to have dying lasers when used a lot, so while technically the Slim is worse since it is the newer of the two, at this point, they're both old, so it's a normal thing to expect. The only other flaws would be that the system probably feels flimsier or less premium to some consumers. But again, that's somewhat down to preference, at least in regards to both revisions' peak models. It's hard to find major cons compared to the FAT, as they're both really good revisions and are very compatible. Any major complaints stem from their aging parts, or from third-party factors, such as modding. Or, maybe your favorite PS1 game just doesn't work on the modern revision, I don't know. But none of these are super major deal breakers, at least for a casual user at the time, and even now minus the whole disc scratching thing, which not even all Slims end up doing, like I said. On the brighter side, the Slim revision is incredibly small, even to its smallest competitor at the time, the GameCube, which compromises full-size DVD support for several reasons, yet still manages to end up bigger than it. Although its initial competition was to that of the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2 Fat. Of course, the Xbox remained huge, but it never warranted a revision, and it was just easier to keep it the fat-ass PC it basically was. For me personally, my PlayStation 2 Slim is my daily driver, and it has practically worked with everything I've thrown at it. I only use my Fat for multiplayer since that's the only PlayStation 2 multi-tap I have. Otherwise, the only reason it's my main is because it's my first PlayStation 2, and because it's such a space saver. Final verdict. The PlayStation 2 itself is obviously like a 9 out of 10 system. The only thing that'd make it a 10 out of 10 is if it wasn't the second lowest in performance. And honestly, the Slim holds that true to itself too. Only issues at the time were relatively niche. It's essentially fully compatible with everything the PlayStation 2 had to offer. Sorry SOCOM fans, no DLC support. And sorry Final Fantasy XI fans for just totally not being able to play the game. Go back to your FATs and hard drives. But otherwise, both the PlayStation 2 in general and the Slim revision are very strong 9 out of 10s. Of course, nothing is perfect, but the PlayStation 2 was pretty damn close.
And there you have it, my review of the PlayStation 2 Slim. A very, very slimline version of the system. The PlayStation 2 Slim and the PlayStation 2 Fat are pretty much the same. There's really not much you can do to differentiate them besides their appearance, as their guts are more or less exactly the same, and you'd be very, very hard pressed to find a unhappy PlayStation 2 Slim owner. Of course, if you're really picky about that compatibility, or you really want to play one of those hard drive exclusive games or run Linux on your system, or mod it and just don't get the, the 9000 or 9xxx, whatever. Pretty much, I feel like at this point, if you're going for a Slim, or you really have a distaste for a Slim, or you know about the Slim, just don't bother, just get what you want, because I know you know what you want. Otherwise, everyone else in the entire Earth is going to be happy with the Slim. And you know what? I've proven to myself that my PlayStation 2 Slim is just as capable as my PlayStation 2 Fat. So you know what? I've got places to be and things to do. You know what? I don't think I thought this through.
Eso,
Hi,
eso,
Anthony.
eso, eso, eso.
Anthony.